And I'm going to ask you just to scan the Mentimeter QR code if you have a mobile phone or an iPad or whatever. And our intent is for you, as soon as possible, to just share and answer like a few questions we're going to ask you. So I'm going to share my screen now, and I'm gonna just make sure that you are able to answer the question. Okay, so I hope you are able to see my screen, and I'm gonna just ask you a simple question, right? How many hours do you spend per day in meetings? From 0 to 10. And let's be transparent, no bullshit today, right? That's part of the meetup. Cool. So let's wait a few more seconds. Right. So I have 15 answers on about 38 participants. So at the top, you have the code as well to go to Menti. You go menti.com and 77203779 to answer this little survey. Great. So we can see that a certain number of us spend roughly 2 hours. A majority of us, minimum of 2 hours, which is already a certain amount of time, and a certain amount of us spend more than 6 hours, which is a lot, right? Then that being said, let's move to the next question. Okay. So how efficient from your point of view are those meetings? From inefficient to efficient based on the fact that you are facilitating it or you are participating in it? So let's take a few more seconds. 3, 2, 1. So what we can see is that there are different level of quality. On average, the meeting you are facilitating seems to be slightly more efficient. So that will be an interesting aspect of facilitation we will look at. And in the same time, the meeting you participate are not that efficient. Okay, a bit less, I mean, roughly in the middle. Okay, that being said, I'm gonna ask Jerome if you can just share back your screen. We'll share with you, of course, all the things we're going to share today with you, even the result of this survey. So that being said, we are in a meetup, an Agile meetup. So I suppose there are some of you, and I know some of you are great facilitators already. So I'm not surprised that most of you consider that the meeting you're facilitating seems to be more efficient. But as one of my mentors used to tell me, meetings are just a disease. Right? We are spending more and more time in meetings. And to be honest, what Harvard Business Review used to share on a certain number of managers, 65% of them shared that a meeting keeps them from completing their own work. So they are kind of prisoner of their meetings. If we go on the Gallup report that I'm sure a certain number of you are aware, we see in organization a lot of people are not engaged or actively disengaged, right? And let's be clear, meetings are really, really the place where disengaged people could create a lot of problems and impact really the efficiency of what we are supposed to deliver. So today our intent is really what can we leverage as facilitator? Is it remote or face-to-face, to be honest? And if we can just move on the next step. In order to start properly, I would like to propose you a meetup agreement. You call it a team agreement. Here is an example. There are a lot of potential team agreement that you could find. And if you don't find one, feel free to reach out to us. This one has been created by Modern Agile. For the one who are keen on Modern Agile, is quite famous. And the intent is a proposition of rules we would like to follow during the meetup. And again, contribution is not only talking, is as well sharing many channels of communication. Listen to one another will be as well critical. Repeat and review people's point. What I used to say as a facilitator, I'm a French guy. I have a strong French accent when I'm speaking English, right? And what is important is if you don't understand my accent, just ask me again to repeat, or I will find an English native speaker able to maybe summarize what I had in mind. So you are able to read, I'm not gonna do it, but my question to you is there anyone on that bridge that is not comfortable or is objecting with this meetup agreement? And if it's the case, feel free to voice it out and mute yourself. But I come from a school where an objection needs to come with a proposition. So if you have an objection, please do not hesitate to propose an adjustment and we will make it happen. 1, 2, 3. I will consider there is no strong objection, but feel free to reach out to us if there is a word or something. Again, there are plenty of working agreement possible. And Jerome, I think you have a small proposition for the group in order we proceed.
Yeah, it's a small one. In fact, it's an adaptation from the Start With Why from Simon Sinek. When you start a meeting, a training, whatever, or a lecture, it's interesting to start with the why. Why are we here? And after you can explain a little bit the process, how it will proceed. And you can ask in the what are the desire, what are the things that people need to make it as a success? So it's a really small framework that helps to frame and frame the expectation of the people. So starting with why, helping.
So you could just ask yourself, why do we spend so much time about it? My sister is a teacher. She's taking care of kids from 3 to 5 years old. In France, the school starts in September, so it's going to start soon. I'm very happy because my kids will be back to school and maybe I will be able to focus even more. But it's really important for her during 2 months to set the rules in place in order to create space for creativity, self-organization, and empower the different, if I may use the vocabulary, empower the participant, which are the student, to be really in the content and learn about each other. What I see in many meetings, and especially remote, where we don't have a common rules, common ground, how to work together, is that everyone is doing the same thing. Some has a video on, some don't have it. Some are just interrupting whenever they want. Some are diverging all the time. There's sometimes, and I noticed it last week in a coaching I was doing, there's no respect. So it's really important, and that's a very simple thing to do. And last comment, this is really an interesting thing to bond as a team, something you can build together, right? So you can build a team agreement, a working agreement, there are as well social agreement. That being said, we will jump in the next step of a workshop, and especially remote. Jerome?
Yes, so in order to have your expectation, in fact, we would like to ask you a question, and you will fulfill this answer in the chat, but I will ask you to not press enter. We will just wait 1 minute, and in 1 minute, we will all press enter together. And this question is, this meetup is a success thanks to, and you will write what will be the thanks to for you. This meetup will be a success. So I give you 1 minute, and in 1 minute, I will give you a top, and we will press. It's a tips for managing low-tech facilitation, by the way.
So group chat, Zoom group chats are easy. If you have some difficulty to find it, just let us know. And complete the following sentence.
So, are you ready? 3, 2, 1, everyone press enter. Great. Okay, practical example and war stories. We will share some. Two things I can use tomorrow. Okay. Simon, you want to reflect on one? Especially, it's okay.
What is nice is we really see the philosophy or the spirit of meetups. So there is really, if I summarize it, I can see a lot of, I want to learn something, I want active participation, I want, I noticed as well, Michael, your expectations summarized quite well. Active participation. So we need as well to tell you one thing as an introduction that is important today. We are going to speak about facilitation, but we are not going to facilitate that much. So active participation will be mainly you asking questions, and we hope we will have really a time for Q&A at the end. But it's not a workshop per se. And that was a challenge with Jerome when we designed this session, is that we are really keen on doing facilitation workshop, having a workshop per se. And we wanted really to do it. And at one point we were like, yeah, but it's going to be a talk. So sorry if it's not a proper workshop, but that's fine, okay?
And we are trying to facilitate it in a way to show you a different way, rather to present slides. And we will start with one thing that it was funny, because when we came with Simon at the beginning to say that what do we speak, what are our foundation, in fact, and our foundation, we found it quite similar. And currently we are living a currently changing world, and something which is unknowable. And one of the things that we discovered with Simon is before, the facilitation were mostly used for workshops, basically. And one of the things that drive the coronavirus is currently we are just moving to facilitate meetings, training, workshop, sometimes dialogue or discussion with people. And one of the things which is, because we are French, we just want to reframe a little bit a definition for facilitation. Like facilitation comes from facilitate and facile in French, which is easy. And there is an easy shortcut, which is like a facilitator is someone that make it easy. Sometimes we are making it hard. So the word we prefer to use is to ease. We are easing, and we are not make it easy all the time. And in fact, what we saw with facilitation, and even in remote, we succeeded in fact to shorten the time distance of the outcome and the value and increase the return on time invested. So this is something that some facilitators who already experience here know, that we can shorten the time in a way to optimize it. And one of the things we truly believe is we are helping, in fact, to co-design a better future. And especially with the coronavirus, we may not need to think about 1 to 3 months. We may need to think as a facilitator, what can we do for 1, 2, 10, 100 years? So we are maybe try to design a more desirable future. So this is the kind of our definition for facilitation to start. And another thing is, what is to be a facilitator? And it was in the design with Simon, something kind of like challenging. We both came with some ideas, we agreed, but it was not the initial one from each of us. So for me, for example, it's a facilitator is someone who tends to be a better version of himself. As a facilitator, if you want to help a team to grow value, in fact, you need to be better and better in yourself, even getting a better version of yourself. And for Simon?
So on my side, I really like the metaphor of a motor. What I mean by that, I'm not a big fan of car, to be honest, but I like to see a facilitator, and especially remote, is the oil in the engine. What I mean by that is that you can definitely drive without oil, but at the end, I'm not sure it's going to be really sustainable, and you may have some problem on the way. At the end of the day, oil is not doesn't have an impact immediately on the motor, but it's essential to make it sustainable and make it work properly. That's one of my definition. I really consider that you don't see the facilitator all the time, but the facilitator is essential for the success of a workshop, of a meeting, of an experience, as Jerome shared. The other thing that is really important, especially remote, again, is that as a facilitator, you need to own the process, not the content. And that's most of the time what I see in many facilitation where the facilitator is doing everything. You need to let it go on the content because you are in charge of the frame, you're in charge of the container, you're in charge of adapting all the time. And if someone is starting to challenge you within that container on the process, you need to listen, and we'll speak about that later. You need to adapt, we'll speak about that later. But at the end of the day, you are owning it. So that's mine, and the last one is for Jerome.
I'm coming from a technical background and I consider myself as an architect. And in fact, as a facilitator, I considered in the co-design and in the act of facilitation, you are becoming an architect of the ambition of your sponsor or your sponsor team. In fact, your architecture, the first brick of the ambition that will continue after. For me, like a workshop is just a brick and it's continuing, it's never finishing at the end. It's a starting point. And so we see that with Simon that physical environment and remote environment, we are driven in some borders. And one of the border we found is one of the things which is changing. We don't have a 360 views. We currently are in front of a screen. So you don't have the same visual interaction. You can not look as a room like you watched before. And so in a way, you need also to have some stuff like a good light, the camera in the right direction, you know, to maintain this connection, because you need to relearn how to look at people behind a screen. And also, Simon?
So different focus as well. When you are face-to-face in a room, there are different techniques to have people focused. Where when you're remote, it's sometimes difficult to have people focused because they could be disturbed by different kind of notification. I'm sure you've been experiencing that kind of thing. You are in an important meeting and you have someone calling you on your phone. And as a facilitator, you're not always aware that the participant will be disturbed. So you need to really take in account remote that this focus is different. That if you want people to be engaged and focused in the experience, you need to adapt the format, the techniques, the tools. We'll speak about that.
And then one thing, for example, as a tips, I send a paper with some guidelines before the workshop, and I asked to shut down WhatsApp and everything to keep this focus. So you are the architect of managing the psychological safety of your participants. And one of the things which is changing is, like, for me, for example, I am a Lego serious play facilitator, so I'm playing a lot with kinesthetic stuff. So you need to recreate some interaction, but you cannot fully use the ends or the building skills. You can, but it's more complex. So anything which is kinesthetic, you may need to rethink about it and change it to make the same outcome. One of the things which is important is a break. Being focused behind a screen, having some light, and so on, being sit. The breaks, you really need to see and look at the people and see when to do it. And you have a tendency to do more.
So for instance, there is one thing we used to say that you can do a break. When I'm designing a training with my team, we used to say that after 50 minutes, you need to do 10 minutes of break. And it's very strange when people are just copying and pasting the way they used to do things face-to-face. As they say, I mean, it's too much break, but let's be clear. After 18 minutes, people are losing their focus. After 40 minutes, they start to be really tired in front of the screen. If you want them to be focused, you need to design in a certain manner where breaks are really a very good position. In my team, for instance, in the breaks, we put some music, we dance, or we just disconnect. We stand up, we move, we shake our body, because again, you are sitting all day long. I was speaking with another facilitator, and he was telling me, a facilitator from IC Agile, he was telling me, I do a break every 40 minutes.
And it's interesting. I just a tips for the break. Try to make the time awkward. So I will do a break for like 6 minutes or 9 minutes, or like I will play music in the background. So when you will not listen to the music, it's the time to go. So you can keep a cue when people are away to give them some signals. And one of the things that you may, when you start, which was maybe for me the most disturbing, was the silence. In a classroom, silence may be in comfort. In remote, silence means people are thinking most of the time, because they need to have so much disturbance around that you need first to be comfortable with silence. And it's okay to ask a question and wait for 30 seconds in remote even more. And this is maybe the most complex thing that you will face at the beginning, is like be comfortable with silence and don't try to empty it. And one of the things is also managing issues. So in face-to-face, you can just go and tap on the shoulder of someone and chit chat with him or go to the coffee. So you cannot anymore, or you can. It's more complex to create a breakout room to try to take the person one-to-one and leave the other group alone and so on. So as a facilitator, I'm really trying most of the time to not create issues by myself. So I'm really careful to not generate things that I will not be able to manage. So it's something in the preparation which I'm caring a lot. And for example, the kind of issues, it's the thing on verbal, paraverbal, and non-verbal. I am trying to always have a tone which is dynamic. And how to do it, I am moving. So even if you don't have a screen or anything, don't forget to move. Move with your body. You can stand up. So with moving your body, you will change your tone and your words will pass more smoothly. So that's few things that you can try to adapt.
And of course, as a facilitator, what is critical is to experiment. I know a certain number of you on the bridge. I'm very happy, by the way, to see you. But I know that as a facilitator, you need to feel comfortable with the techniques you're going to use. Means what? That you need to have safe environment where you will really properly experiment. So, for instance, that's why with JÉRôME, we are part of something called Play 14 or some other environment that allow you to experiment techniques. And you will see at the end that you will have a set of techniques that you like to facilitate and some that you don't like to facilitate, right? So experimentation is really part of the life of a facilitator, and I invite you to really experiment as much as you can. Then time management. We used to say in facilitation, time is your worst enemy. What I mean by that is that if you don't manage to converge at the end of the time and you don't manage to increment, because there are some agilists in the room, if you don't manage to really do what needs to be done in order to complete what needs to be done within your facilitation, people will leave the room thinking, okay, we will finish later, but you will have a different energy. You will not be able to really get the best out of your design. So it's on you to, on a regular basis, to work on the timing. And again, when we speak about timing, it's not only inside the box, it's as well outside of the box. I mean, what happened before, what happened after. As a facilitator, you need to take care of the time.
And to conclude, don't try to mimic what you did physically remotely. Don't try. Sometimes it's working, most of the time you need to adapt. And the next thing is like, we try to see what is in our DNA as a facilitator with Simon. What are the skills which are needed? And even more remotely. And one of the things that I experienced it this afternoon, I did a consensus workshop where at the end, the team finished by consensus said, oh, we are in a dream, which is quite in a way like good, but they need to be in action. So when I was starting, I get really curious on with the co-design, like where do you want to go and so on. So if I didn't go further, I may have missed my workshop. And in fact, finishing with a dream, it's okay. Need to concretize it. But mostly at the beginning, they didn't want this. So I needed to question and to listen and try to really deep dive with them. And we solved some problem in co-design before the actual workshop. We try to make it smoother and make sure that the questions are good for the participant and so on. So one of the things that I discovered, which is linked with my work in agility, is being a facilitator is really someone who truly have a pure agile mindset. Like we are really proactive and adaptive all the time. And it's happening in the co-design session, and it's happening during the session, and so on.
Tooling is as well something really specific to a remote, even if you can use a certain number of tools in a face-to-face. I'm lucky in a few weeks, months, we may have some face-to-face training coming up, and maybe we won't be able to interact the same way you used to interact. So at the end of the day, what you need is to really work on your tools. Discovering a tool in front of your, is it team, organization, or customer, is really something really dangerous. And at the end of the day, what we used to say with Jerome is that what is really important is to be curious on the tool. Why? Because at the end of the day, you will have to use a tool that the environment will propose to you. What I mean by that is that if for any reason, I'm sure a certain number of you are aware, Zoom is not allowed everywhere. And at the end of the day, people really like Zoom because it's easy to create breakout rooms, yes. But then you need to organize a meeting, and again, it's not possible. It's not possible for security reasons. So you have a tool with no breakout rooms. What are you gonna do? So you need to be curious on those tools, and of course, experiment some other ways to have the same kind of experience. I mean, same breakout room, but maybe slightly more complex to organize. But at the end, needs to be the same experience for the participant, in smooth. So we invite you really to experiment the different tools and just be open on the tools, not identify one fit for all. It's not gonna work.
And for example, it happened to me two things. One, that it was Miro. Miro just break down. So I had to switch. So we switched directly to a low-tech with the chat. So you need to have experimented a little bit of using the chat in Zoom or using the feature of Zoom with a poll or everything in order to be able to be comfortable with it. And another one where like I came to a bank and in fact they updated their firewall and they cannot access to Mural. So, but hopefully they had PowerPoint with SharePoint connected. So I used PowerPoint to an infinite canvas and everyone were able to do like mural inside PowerPoint. So you need also to be able to adapt with the tool you know. So what Simon is saying also is like, try and it may save your life and your ass in one day.
So everything that we share here are something important, and we invite you to be curious on all of them. What does that mean for you? And especially remote, right? What does that mean being proactive and adaptive? There are some agile people in the room, so I'm sure it's gonna work for you. But what does that mean being empathic? Remote, right? So you need to work on all those stream of, I mean, in order to become a stronger facilitator. Now, that being said, I just want to share a few words about the posture of a facilitator, right? And there is one thing which is really clear, that for me, it's not because you're remote that you can't use your sense, right? This afternoon, I was facilitating a workshop between Singapore, China, and Europe, and I noticed that at one point the top manager just disappeared. And it's important to use your eyes to notice what is the different interaction going on. In the same way, I'm gonna maybe share something quite personal, but sometimes when you have been focusing too long remote, you could have sweat a bit, and you can smell that it's right time to do a break. I'm sorry to share that, but it happens really often. Then listening. Listening is really an important, I mean, use your ears to understand where are we going, what is happening. Let your sense being really active as a facilitator. That being said, there is this Shuari model, if you know martial art, and I know in Agile we use it very often to explain a learning journey. Shuari model are really interesting in facilitation because a lot of people consider themselves as facilitator because they've been organizing a meeting. What we invite you today is remotely is really to identify a safe space where you will be able to experiment and potentially follow the rules. If you start to break the rules from day one, you're gonna just have a bad experience. Maybe it will accelerate your learning, but we invite you really to consider it's gonna go step by step. When I started facilitation, went well because I had around me a certain number of people who guided me in that journey. Kaizen is a critical part of it. You need to continuously look at yourself, see what you could do better. Take a picture. Sometimes someone asks, is it possible to record today? At the end of the day, I was thinking about it. Maybe I'm not going to like what I'm going to hear. But I think it's definitely good because I'm going to learn about myself. I'm going to learn about maybe these English codes that I'm not able to pronounce properly. I'm going to improve. I'm going to be more straightforward when we are really talkative, right? So the Kaizen way of thinking, continuous improvement is critical as a facilitator. Jerome, you want to add something?
I want to just invite you to revisit the 5S of Kaizen for your environment and how to clean and be accessible. You can look for it. And the last thing is try to develop the skill of listening the body language of the person behind your ear. Try to see how the person is moving by listening the voice. It's a really good skill as a facilitator. And one of the things that we kind of agree with a lot of facilitators, which is in facilitation, 80% of the time is spent in preparation, which is the 70% of the success of the workshop. And even sometimes I move to 95%. And Simon, you want to speak about the quote about Benjamin Franklin?
Yeah, I mean, dear Benjamin, sometimes I'm always impressed by those smart people able to summarize in one quote exactly. So by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. Unfortunately, how many of you are jumping from one meeting to another without preparing the following meeting? So for instance, a tip, and especially remote, what I do is in a 1 hour meeting, I did it with one of my clients in China 2 or 3 weeks ago, I forgot the time. But I told them, when you have 1 hour meeting, you know what? Take half an hour to prepare and half an hour to do your meeting. And you will see that your meeting will be even more, people will be more focused, the flow will be much better. And at the end of the day, you will deliver more value. Right? So really invest time in your preparation. And if someone gets to you and say, okay, can you organize an amazing meeting or a workshop or experience in 2 hours? Be good with yourself. Just say no. Because if you say yes, it's going to be terrible for you. It's going to be terrible for the participant. It's going to be terrible for your organization. And at the end of the day, facilitation is really expensive. Having 20 people doing 1 hour in a meeting is very expensive.
And so the good transition is one of the questions we had a lot with Simon said, what is a good size in remote and physically? And we don't have a magic formula, but we share, like, there is absolutely no limit, I believe, remotely, that how many people you can gather. As soon as you want to have interaction, there is two rules we like is 7 plus or minus 2. It's a kind of magic number for some breakout room. It's linked also to the number of objects you can instantly memorize in your brain. which is you cannot memorize more than 9. And the second one is, depending on the experience, sometimes I prefer the 4 plus or minus 1. It depends how deep the reflection will be. So basically, you can create as many breakout rooms, and you can have an unlimited number. If you heard about appreciative inquiry, you can do a workshop of 1,000 people, and it's okay. The size of the group is, like, by experience, this one. And just a little one, like if you go, for example, with a team of 10, they will have to manage 45 interaction, which is quite a lot. So increase this will increase complexity. And
that being said, what is important is to share with you a few things that are we consider obvious, but maybe that elephant in the room we need to tackle when it's time to facilitate. If you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. What I mean by that is that if someone is reaching out to you and asking you just to facilitate, I want this team to be the high-performing team, and I want you to invest about 2 hours. That's not gonna work. It's gonna take time, and it's not because it's a nice environment and you consider that you will be able to do something good that is gonna be enough. So just be careful and learn to say no, because at the end of the day, it's not a silver bullet. Second thing is your relationship to time. Time during and around the experience. Facilitation takes time. We spoke about preparation. Preparation takes time. It's costly. Number of facilitator is costly. So it's really important to have in mind what we call a trade-off slider in I would say product or project management, which is what are the different parameters, and that is really important. So then take all those parameters in account, and briefing and speaking about it will be critical. And something we use, and it's a technique, I use it as a mind map remote when I'm doing my brief. I use the 7P coming from a book called Game Storming, a quite good book to read. I'm not a big fan of everything, but at least a lot of good tips in facilitation. And I put the product is the facilitation, I'm gonna do the experience. And then I'm looking for the purpose, the process, the people, the pitfalls, the practical concern, the preparation, and I map everything. And if I have one piece which is not filled, means that I still have some assumption, so I still have some risk. So I need to ask more questions. Is it to the sponsor? Is it to the participant? Is it to the stakeholder? I don't know. We are used to add one last P, which is not documented in the Game Storming book, is positive outcomes. It's important now to start to think, why are we doing such a thing? Purpose is one thing, but how do we want to change the world? How are we going to impact that world? And in order to really ask you to adapt, to change, to really start to think system, I know that Jerome has the last one that is a good metaphor as well, and is really useful.
I just want to give you tips on the game storming. If you want to prepare a meeting, you can just take 10 minutes. Write the purpose of the meeting, the people that will come and see if it's missing someone, and the product and the process. You will see you already write the email, because you can copy paste each area in the email. And if you have some preparation and things to read, you can add them in the process. So you can start a meeting by saying, like, at the end, we would like to achieve this. And you will see how powerful will be this meeting. And for me, the best metaphor I have as a co-designer is a straw dog. So I considered that my lineup is a straw dog. So it's a dog made of straw. I can burn it whenever I want, and I can rebuild it really quickly. So it means during the preparation, I anticipate some pitfall, and I try to counter it. I try to make some space. Maybe if I am too quick, I can remove this. Maybe if we have sometimes we can do this activity more. So the idea is to really consider that your lineup is a straw dog. You may not do everything, but you create opportunity in case, for example, I anticipate we may have a big divergence on this topic. So you can just try to design a little bit. So just one good idea to keep in mind. And we have a kind of a big parenthesis now, which is what we are living like. In remote, we need some time to co-facilitate.
Yeah, and that's not always easy. Let's be transparent, but it's nearly mandatory to co-facilitate remote. Why? Because you never know the quality of your network. And we just had a discussion 2 weeks ago with Jerome, with a facilitator who was facilitating a session with 60 people, and his Zoom session where he was the host crashed, completely crashed. So everyone was just disappeared. So it's important to have a course. It's important to pair. It's providing a lot of value. So, but it's important to have one lead at a time and respect that order. So in your preparation, we have been speaking with Jerome. When are you going to take the lead? Where are you going to leave me a bit more space? We need one to be at the front and the other one to take care of the back office. We, in an event we organized about remote games a few weeks back, we had one really taking care of people, welcoming them on the technical front, where the other one was facilitating games, right? A different kind of communication channel. For instance, we have a WhatsApp in parallel where sometimes I'm pinging Jerome when he's speaking too much. Sometimes where I'm speaking too much, he's telling me, time, we need to proceed. But it's really important to respect your pair. And an advice for you remote is as well at the end space and to say, for instance, Jerome, you want to add something? And that's really important.
So that the thing is, for the communication channel, we have a WhatsApp open with Simon. So we are sending us direct feedback all the time. So one of the things, if you co-facilitate, take care about your communication channel and the battery. And one of the things is like giving no, I will not give you
I'm going to stop you now.
Okay. No, because I want to speak about the golden rule of facilitation, which is you can never contradict another facilitator in front of another facilitator. So it's forbidden. You cannot make a disagreement between both of us. So I disagree with you, Simon.
That's exactly the purpose. I mean, I didn't want to interrupt you, but it's really important. We saw so many times people that are not prepared to be in that stance. And it's a matter of respect and work. Preparing such a workshop, it's an amount of work. If you want people at the end to have an amazing experience, and you have two facilitators not really listening to each other. Sorry?
What?
So if you're okay with that, Jerome, we are going to move in the last part of this presentation, which is I am a facilitator. I want to facilitate remote. What is my journey? Where should I start? What should I do? And here we are talking about remote workshop or remote experience, but really, to be honest, it's the same kind of advice we could share with you for face-to-face interaction. So, Jerome.
It's a part which is the most important for us with Simon. It's a co-design. We are never, ever getting out a lineup or a straw dog from nowhere and say like, okay, done. So the first step of the co-design is to try to review with the sponsors, like the ambition, the objective, and the outcome. It should be clear and shared across all the sponsors. And this is in fact the why. And also checking with the sponsor if you will have the right people that will be able to tackle it. So the sponsor will be the leverage for getting the right people in the right place with the right time, booking the agenda and so on. So taking care about all the things that you cannot really take care. And after the second phase, which is preparation and co-design. So this is the what and the how. You try to co-design with other facilitators and so on, and also with the sponsors, try to check. After comes the act of facilitation, where everybody will be here. But just remember, it's just the first brick. It will just give the direction to the ambition that has been defined. So at the end, you can continue to do multiple workshops with them, but you need to give them a direction. So if at the end they have a complete disagreement, it's okay, because they live the common experience. And it may need to go further. If it's a common alignment, it's okay too. But I don't really care about literally the outcome. I'm caring about the direction which is going after. And one thing in this, don't forget to do a meeting with your sponsors at the end to retrieve feedback and try to go further with them.
That being said, it's our time to close that session. So with the QR code you have here, you will be able to download the presentation. And again, thanks to the graphic recording that Jerome did to prepare that session. It's important for us to give you a few. It's a few, but you have a lot of others. So be curious, reach out to us outside of this session if you want some more. But testcupcake.org, play14.org, hyperisland.com, collaboration superpowers are, for instance, amazing website to collect some techniques as well as tips. Collaboration superpower is one of my favorite. If you don't know Lisette, I mean, she's overwhelmed now because she was the first one really speaking about remote collaboration. Then in terms of content, you can be trained around technology of participation. And that's an amazing, I've been trained about 10 years ago in Europe, a bit more than that now, I'm getting older. And that was really a foundation for me to become really a facilitator. MG Taylor is as well a reference. Jerome is following their path, the foundation. If you want really to really deep dive on theory, today we decided to not go deep in terms of theory, but we invite you to look at it. And art of hosting, host leadership, design. Go for it.
You can go to the website Art of Hosting and you will see explanation on Word Coffee, appreciative inquiry and stuff like this.
Same for host leadership, which is to me even more powerful than servant leadership. If you didn't read the book, just go for it. This is just amazing. Of course, we don't. I mean, we are thinking about all the designers that we are meeting on a daily basis that are able to something went wrong on your QR code.
I'm fixing it.
No worries, but speak with designers. Speak with people that are just. I'm a big fan of HCD, human-centered design. I've been learning a lot from Luma as well. But at the end, keep it simple, right? And what do you want to share? Yagni, Jerome, what do you want to share about that?
You're not gonna need it.
Okay.
It's literally a concept of software development. Like try to, if you keep it stupidly simple, try to see sometimes like, maybe I'm not gonna need it. So some activities you may not need it. And Simon, I will let you with the Elmo.
And Elmo is a powerful one, but as well a bit tough. So use it is enough. Let's move on. So that with those words, we are going to close that session. Thank you for your attention. Of course, facilitation is a journey. We could have speak about a lot of other things, but I think we managed for some of you to continue to be curious. Do not hesitate to reach out to us. And really a big kudos to Stanley for this great space that you create on a regular basis for us to continue to grow. Stanley?
And we have some questions.
And of course, a big kudos to my pair, Jerome. We have been working on it and I'm very, very happy of what we managed to deliver. So that's good.
Almost on time.
Almost on time. Stanley, are you with us?
Yes, I am. So there are still about 5 minutes left. I think we can take a few questions. So anyone who have questions, please shout out.
I think it's maybe
Jerome and Simon, I've got a question.
Yeah, go for it.
So when you're doing remote facilitation, how have you managed when people don't turn on their video?
So on that front, I'm going to take it if you are okay with that, Jerome. I'm not anymore have to. I'm not asking why. As I shared with some of you, I'm coaching a few teams in China, and in China, as you know, they have been walking back to the office earlier than maybe some of us in Singapore, and they are all wearing a mask. So what I told them, switch on your video, and they all switched on their video, and they were all with a mask, and I was like, oh, that's really weird. To be honest, I invite people to switch on their video, especially in trainings, to be honest, because there are some interactions. That being said, there is as well something I learned a few weeks back I like is when people are about to speak, I invite them to switch on their video. There are plenty of countries where, I mean, especially in China again, sometimes the network is really bad. So people are not switching on their video because they don't want. It's more because they want to stay. So by asking the have to sometimes could be a bit too tough. So the way I invite is me, I'm switching on my video, right? I'm inviting people. I really like the power of invitation. That's mine. Jérôme, if you want to share something.
One of the things on the video, I'm trying to take care of it in co-design with the sponsors. And I will say that you will invite them to switch on the video if in a way I am in a context which is a little bit more difficult. I would like to answer the question on Leo, how should we facilitate activity conversation in breakout room where we are not present in this room? I have a tips when you are alone and when you have 2 breakout rooms, and it's a kind of lifesaver. Just open 1 breakout room. So it means that you let half of the group in the main room and you will be able to switch from 1 breakout room to another one. In case someone lost a connection and reconnect, he will be alone in the lobby and in the main breakout, in the main room. So as a tips, as a single facilitator, just open 1 breakout room. And that's all.
And
so
maybe
we will be able to jump easily from one to another by leaving the room. If someone has a question, he can leave the room, come back to the main one, and you can replace it after.
To me, it's more your experimentation with the tool. We are talking about Zoom here, but the other tools, you just need to play around with the tools, right? And I will say there is no one fit for all, unfortunately. So it's on you to make the rule explicit. So something we didn't share that much today is a drawing, make things visible. When you have, if you're using a mural, a Miro, or whatever, Klaxoon, all the tools that are now popping up and more powerful, make the rules explicit. Don't just speak, write them. It's critical because if people are lost, so example, on Miro, when we are doing training, we create a post-it, let's gather here, and we ask people to join us on the post-it on the board. That helps us to gather. We have link on the board on the different video conference tool. We have a last question. What mistakes have you made in your recent online facilitation? What mistake I did? Yes, today I was facilitating my big workshop. We designed with a co-facilitator in Europe, so that was a big workshop. And in China, they didn't manage to connect the remote tool. So unfortunately, we really had to. What I did is I proposed to be the hand. So our chat box was working. So I told them just write all your post-it in one message per one message, and then we will be able to write your post-it on the board. So at the end, we have a board that is completed. But at one point, when you have been investing a certain amount of time to design a board, it's kind of a little frustration.
For me, it was like one easy mistake I did was this afternoon. I did also a workshop with friends. And in fact, some people arrived late, 5-10 minutes, and I didn't, because they know each other, I just started, and after like 1 minute, I just stopped and redo a proper checking for the newcomers, for where they are and so on. So it was like, I was in the flow, I know the people, but in a way, like, ooh, I forgot this. And what is an easy mistake you can do by online facilitators? Try to fulfill your workshop like in your straw dog until the end. Like if at one point you need to take time in one situation to go further, just say it to the participant. We may not be able to go further, but I think it is important we focus on this. Are you all agree that we continue the discussion on this?
So just for a matter of time, because we reach the end, I'm gonna just add you one thing, because I know we have some strong Agile practitioner on the bridge. As a facilitator, you can do the worst mistake of a product owner, the worst mistake of a Scrum Master, and the worst mistake of a developer. If you look at those different functions or roles, sorry, I would say you can just as a Scrum Master, if you just don't listen, as a product owner, if you focus on your plan and you don't take the feedback, as a developer, if you don't think quality, I can tell you that you will be a very bad facilitator. But if you work on your Scrum Master, product owner, and developer qualities, you will become a stronger facilitator, I promise you.
And me, I will finish with one easy mistake I suggest to fix I'm trying to fix it for me. Be careful of the vocabulary you are using. So one of the things is, for example, yes, but it's a disaster on remote. You cannot retrieve it. You create a problem you cannot handle. So ask directly why and not powerful question. It's another problem. So try to be appreciative with your question. Try to be appreciative with the way you speak, and avoid, oh, it's trivial. As you know, all everything that can create a mistake. So be careful of your vocabulary.
Thanks all of you. Thanks, Stanley. I think we can close now, Stanley, as a last word for you.
Yes, thank you. So appreciate Jerome and Simon again for spending a lot of time and wonderful illustrations created from scratch for this meetup event. And yeah, my gratitude to you and your generosity in sharing your experience with the community. I think that's about it. Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Stanley. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, Stanley. Thank you, Jerome. Nice to see you, Joshua. And I saw a certain number of faces I know from the community. That's great. Thanks a lot.
We finished.
Time for a beer, huh, Michael? When are we meeting?
Now?
Yeah, beer. Gaylong, where are you? I still have 30 minutes to try to go to catch a beer, in fact, downstairs.
I'm gonna leave you if you don't mind. I'm sorry about that, but the little kids here have been waiting for too long.
No,
and thanks a lot. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you soon around. That was really a real pleasure, Stanley. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Simon.
Yeah. All right.
That was a challenge.
Yeah, it was a long, nice drawing though. I love your drawing, man.
Thank you. Because with Simon, we can speak literally for 2 days in a row about it. We go to subtleties. So the things that we have behind our back was like, don't say this, don't say this. You go too deep, don't do it.
Publish a book. The
book?
Yeah, publish something. Remote facilitation.
Yeah, from Lisette Sutherland.
Yeah.
Work from anywhere.
Work from
anywhere. Work from anywhere. Yeah. Actually, my Bible are.
Yeah, I still haven't read that book yet. Still in my to-do list, quite long. What's that?
I have 4 books like this on facilitation with model, patterns, and tools.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
I'm working on facilitation really deeply, but it's bloody interesting. So it's
What's the title?
you can try to go to the website Imaginal Lab,
Labs Press.
and it's in fact the entire first 4 book of 7, because there will be 7 books like this on the entire MG Taylor methodology that were used by KPMG, PwC, the AAC of Capgemini, and Ernst & Young.
Wow.
So I have been studying it for years, and best investment in terms of book in my life.
Is this the... Oh, okay. I thought it's something...
Collaboration code.
I thought it's like something from Disney or something.
The patent has been removed. It was a patented methodology that has been removed like 1 year ago. So it's literally the best book of facilitation on earth, approved.
What makes it best?
Yeah, the subtleties, the details, like it's the entire knowledge of some people which were starting to work in 1970 up to now that has been gathered. Like I just the first chapter is how to create a powerful environment. Done.
Oh.
Like 50 pages on what are the things. So I have like 2 pages, which is on the creator of comfort. Like how do you take care about creator of comfort? Make sure that your venue has a parking nearby if the guy coming by car, or can you manage the fact that they have a parking ticket already available and some slot already booked? Or do you think you may need to just try to think if you can book a bus for them in the design to make sure everybody arrive on time? Like the coffee, the food, like every small detail is literally taken into account. Like some few tips which are not, I think, in the book. For example, take all your whiteboard marker, place it with kind of colors linked to the fillings in the same orders. And after you strap with a Scotch tape all the cap together. So you have a block of all the colors. So when you remove one, at the end, the guy knows that it automatically needs to come back. So and at the same time, he can be influenced by not saying it while the emotion of using the color you want. And it's also easy to pack, easy to change. So there are some like micro subtleties, which for me, I am a facilitator. So it's like this kind of things, which is like, what are the things that we need to do in remote, and which are the smaller things, like sending a paper with just please remove all the notifications, shut down your email. Like, what are all these creatures that we need to remove? And this is the thing that we said with Simon, like, we cannot speak about it during this. It would be like, we can spend 1 hour just in how to welcome people.
Yeah. You can do a whole series, man.
Yeah.
I'm curious actually, how are you dealing with the things like Lego and being able to touch and do things together? How have you managed with the online so far?
I had some ideas for the Lego. I had some, but I was not able to practice it. But I have the design already done, so I have some exploration bag already packed, and I can send them by post. And after, I am designing a way that your people can share the identical construction, and you can do a landscape by taking a picture and importing the picture in mural. Because in fact, at this moment, the importance is the moving and come back. So I already have some design about it. Some others you can try to do, for example, you can have some, it's a kind of break or also creativity stuff that I'm doing. You can ask, like, you have many objects around you. Build a tower with the objects which are around you.
Yeah.
And after, like, speak about your problems and the things, like how this tower represents where you are actually. So you try to start to do this. The other one is to ask the people to draw with a big pen and try to show some things, or to take a photo on the notes and send it to WhatsApp group of all the participants. So you can still have some interaction. Currently, I am working with a group of people from KPMG and PwC on try to design asynchronous design.
Okay.
So how you take care about asynchronicity inside your design for remote workshop, and when activity should be asynchronous, where activity should be synchronous. Should it be asynchronous private, or should it be an asynchronous collective, meaning that you have some gathering point and so on? So which is, I started to introduce asynchronicity in my workshop and training and coaching 6 months ago with the beginning of the COVID, because it came to a point that people said, like, I have my children, I don't have time, maybe I cannot do this. And so like gathering people were like, bleh.
Got you.
Yeah, very good.
Very challenging to do this with fully. I'm using Miro a lot, but it's still not exactly the same.
They try. If you look at the Mural and Miro trying to have an application when you can write post-it, take a picture and import it directly in it.
Yeah.
And it's not working.
The same. Yeah.
People are not willing to
Mm.
do
Yeah.
it.
So last week, Michael and I also have a conversation how make people dance together.
Oh yeah.
A good song.
No,
But the interaction component.
Yeah, interaction.
Let me show you. Let me show you this. All right. If you can find a way to do this virtually, I think.
Yeah. So that's one.
Oh yeah, this one. I remember.
How do we do this?
Yeah.
It's like, if we wanted to recreate something like this, right? Even how would that happen? That's the thing. I still can't wrap my brain around it.
We tried.
Yeah.
Don't try to make it like it was physical. If people are around and try to gather and try to play with the distance, with the camera, try to play with the border.
Yeah.
Like, got some games like where is it? I am stuck in a box. I cannot move.
Yeah.
So you can use the difference. One of the things I'm trying to fix, which is how to make sure I can project a Zoom mosaic mine to everyone, to make sure everyone is looking everyone in the same position.
Oh.
Zoom is always messed up.
Yeah, keep messing around.
So the idea, it will be this, and if you do this, you can do some really nice things up and around.
Yeah.
Oh, and I want to share you one thing, and after we will release Stanley, is the other one, sharing, just the tips. So this is my camera. So this is a $15 makeup light.
Oh yeah.
Which is really good. $15. It's a ring.
You get it on Amazon or something?
Lazada.
Oh, Lazada. Do you have the link? I was looking for one yesterday. I couldn't find a good one.
Yeah, I can share. And one of the things, the tips you need to have as a virtual facilitator, your second screen need to be in the alignment of your camera.
Yeah.
Do not speak to the people like this or like this.
Yeah.
And if you can succeed to put it a little bit up, in fact, when you look at the screen, in fact, you create an optical illusion that I'm looking at the camera.
Yeah.